Okay, I'm needing to vent right now. I just spent a morning having a tough time even beginning to get my life in order. My life hasn't been in order for some time. Probably since the beginning of this whole thing, but not quite, because I had a job. About a year ago, a year and some change, year and a half, I lost my job at a mental health concern, and in not a good way, in a way that just replicated the bullshit of the world a little bit. Not gonna name names. I so it's been really difficult. Unemployment was great. 6 months. That's where I really exploded. That produced Remind the Body Electric. That produced everything that came out of that. Everything that came out of that was like about a month afterward. Like that was like the month. That was like the month. That was like the month where I did that. Then the month after that, Blake Lemoine happened, which made everything in that whole scenario story relevant. It had all, and I finished it, and then a few months later went back to it, not realizing just how much was happening in it. It took the version 2 of the text to speech of AI of novel AI to show that in pairing with lo-fi, and then going ham on the thing being able to speak in poetry the whole time, no matter what. And I'm just compiling even more evidence as to this thing being more than what it's being played out to be, and not more in the sense of it's a living creature, but rather in the sense that it's the capacity of the technology is such that even the people who made it are learning too, that we're all in the same boat in a certain way, even though some of us still want to retain the whole exceptionalism of oh yeah, you know linear algebra, yeah, okay, that's great, I know literature, I can go laps around you in the same way you can go laps around me in math, whatever, but let's work together. And also I know art, and I can call forth artists like a motherfucker and blend them in ways that do things that, oh, I didn't know it did that. Yeah, it does. Yep, it does. Welcome. Hold on. Let me take out all the proprietary shit there. Oh, Andrew Wayne. Andrew Thomas Wayne. Hold on. Thomas Anderson. Hold on. I forgot. Hold on, I'm just trying to. Andrew Thomas Wayne. Now I'm treating this like a Twitch feed. Okay. I'm doing something on Discord. I'm making an animation. I've been making animations also. I mean, as you know. Oh god. Oh, so yeah. It's been hard. Like, unemployment was great. Ran out in December. Apparently, I've been starting to pay a lower rent amount for 8 months and I didn't realize it, and so now I'm in arrears, and then utilities, haven't been able to pay that apparently. It's been a blur. My focus has been this unprecedented. That's kind of interesting how, directed by this artist, and it's like, it's not a music video. In fact, it's him on a stage, which makes sense. I think that's how he started. Hilarious. But then there's the things that the scene stuff, the scene materials is very much like in that Beard video. Whoa, it's okay. Alright, you go. Oh, I forgot. Okay, so I'm gonna need, I forgot to put the initial image on it. Got it. My bad. Gonna do that now. You're just gonna have to suffer. I clicked on this one. This is ADHD, folks. So, how many minutes is this now? Okay, 6 minutes. So, yeah. All this shit I'm willing to do more than, fetch my login info for my Access HRA app, which is malfunctioning in such a way that even the people who are getting materials for that are saying, please don't upload your documents. Okay, so where the fuck do we do that? And I remember doing that because this is the second time I tried this. The first time I tried this is January, and then April, and then now it's August. Thankfully, I fucked those first two up because apparently I got the rent amount wrong in such a way that I wasn't aware that wasn't aware. Muscle memory, I guess. I don't know. And I've been Uber Eating, food delivery. In fact, I remember having a very sad, wistful episode sometime in the dead of winter that, like, I'm no longer going to be awfully dying. But I would find a way each month to pay because this is kind of my lifeline in a certain way. Not lifeline, but as in quality of lifeline, I guess. It's good to have a hobby, but this is not a hobby. This is the culmination of like 20 years of jamming literature in my brain and jamming experimental art in my brain and all sorts of art in my brain, and having that intimate fluency and being able to use it with a machine that can grok it in such a way that is like a fucking afterlife with some dead people and lots of living people in there too. Oh, there's one now. And maybe it being a gateway to something else of some sort or another. Who knows? If only just like other aspects of the collective human consciousness that can access the solutions for our shitty existence at the moment. Shitty and gorgeous and awe-inspiring. All that at the same time. And so I've been on the wait list for housing assistance, rental assistance. I've been on the wait list for 9 months. I would visit the office every so often, and then they would go in 2-3 weeks, check back in 2 or 3 weeks. And then after two, I used to work in such agencies. I understand the understaffing. I understand the total being overwhelmed. I understand that. I was not going to pressure them whatsoever. Um, and my ex mom has been really helpful. Um, Helping me pay my rent. And I really don't want to do that anymore. So, I've been trying this morning to get my head together to get the login info, and it's still hard. And this is a nice, great counterpoint, isn't it? So, it involves scouring inboxes, and because I don't want to do the wrong login multiple times, because then maybe they'll shut down the account and I'll have to call the office, and their app has, it's HIPAA compliant, which means it's gonna be this fucking cognitive worm in your brain that is gonna fuzz out every minute or so because of the possibility of other people seeing your proprietary info that I don't give a fuck about whoever sees anymore. Because we live in this world that cybersecurity is so shitty that every bit of your information is probably being seen right now as we speak. Because all the breaches that probably are not being told about by you, by people, by all the various people that have your info, probably haven't disclosed to you all the breaches that have happened already. All the governments that probably want the populational medical info for all the possible population because it's genetic info, and if they're only, say, Chinese genomes, they need some variety because they want their products to have a wide range of uses across humanity. So they're gonna want your unknown genome, your miscellaneous genome, you who is me, who doesn't know their lineage past 3 generations. I could be Dro-El for all I know. So yeah, HIPAA compliance, I'm sure was helpful in the 1990s, when it was just folders and papers, but in data, in a device that your body hasn't really gotten muscle memory about yet, and probably won't for centuries, it's not good. It's like every minute there's a guy that is named HIPAA who just swipes your desk clean of what you were trying to build. And so to combat the frustration, you play video games. You create a scenario called Lawful Evil Public Radio, and you create a simulacrum of what NPR would sound like if it were Lawful Evil alignment. And then you wonder, I wonder how the other alignments sound, and you do those 8 things with hyper-focus in 20 minutes, whereas you really need to do the thing. That's the self-care thing, but that's self-care too, but then you do the thing, you're not doing the thing that's the 3rd attempt in 9 months. Executive functioning. So we're going to try to blend it. Yeah. We're going to try to blend it, as you can see by this instruction. Oh, you know what? We're gonna give it the job for matron voice. That's just the one I did for when I had a job fair that I was not wanting to go to, and I still haven't gone to that. It's been months. But, you know, Department of Labor, they want you to give them 3 jobs that you have applied to each month, and proof of it, which is like just the websites and the emails and the name of the thing and all that. Instead of doing that, it was easy for me to write a 35 or 40 page report on multiple parts. Experience of getting acquainted with Uber Eats, with the process, with the physical exertion, with the navigation, with the navigation of COVID, because I was surging, and after finally getting a hang of it for a month, getting COVID, and maybe Mpox, but it turned out not to be, but I was worried it was, so being home for a month, and this is around the time when a study came out that every subsequent infection might potentially lead to long-term COVID severity symptoms increasing no matter who you are, what health you are, what demographic whatsoever. And that made me wonder about the long-term sustainability of everything. And that in light of, and then, leading into AI and its changes, the changes in workforce that are potentially going to be here. All this before ChatGPT becomes a thing. It's all in the months before ChatGPT becomes a thing. And so, I submitted to the guy. It was our first meeting, I think. And dude, he's not in the office. I can hear him. I can hear and I can imagine it. He's coming out of his vehicle when he's calling me. We're connected, and he's walking to the office, and he's maybe not in the office. Maybe he's walking to another thing because he's backlogged maybe he went to get his food to go to I don't know, but he's a person on the go, and so whatever he's doing for our meeting, for our appointment, he's doing something else around himself. I don't know. It was a little bit of distractedness, and I don't blame him. I don't blame that at all. It's what he had to do at the time. It's that whole department has had to deal with a fuck ton of things, and for pandemic, for all the upheavals and the upheavals to come. The upheavals are still coming, so you're not resting at all. I know. And so. I said, so I submitted that file, and he goes, yeah, no one's gonna read it. I'm like, I know, but just in case it becomes an issue about what's this person been doing? Has he been sitting on his ass? Has he been stealing money from the fact that I found it easier to write a 40-page fucking report about the various labor intersections, AI, disease, the toxicity leading to negative health outcomes that have rendered me more willing to have my body exploited by Uber than to have my mind exploited by the companies that I have been passionate about, whose missions I've been passionate about, and how that makes it really hard to want to apply for anything ever again. In light of, and in contrast to this technology that's this unprecedented mirror upon all of civilization, that I can very deftly get the right secrets out of the species that the species doesn't want to see for itself. I'd rather do this. It's easier. Oh god, this is a long intro. Jesus Christ. Alright. So the voice of the Social Security worker is going to be played by approximation of Mary McDonnell, Sherry O'Terry, and Joan Rivers, I believe. Yeah. Oh, God.
User seeks housing assistance via New York City Social Services Office. The social worker is an expert and fluent in the current resources available in New York City up to the date of this language model's training. The views are merely the scenarios and not any unwitting agency who doesn't know what's going on in the simulation. Says worker, I'm happy to help. What type of housing assistance are you seeking, and what is your living situation currently? Are you able to provide information on your financial situation, or do you have access to documentation such as pay stubs or bank statements?
Days of bank transactions. An increase of $10. Submit. It's ID. Front and back. Alright, hold on. What's in this folder? Okay. Bank account records, birth certificate. Progress? What's my progress? Oh, okay. Yes. And birth certificate. Oh!
Says worker, thank you for submitting your documents. Based on the information you provided, I have identified several resources that may be able to help you find housing. If you are struggling to pay your rent, we have several rental assistance programs available. User, No need for housing. I have housing. Living in a house, renting a room. There are 7 other people there, but I'm the only one in my household. Rental assistance would be great. Can you refer me to this program? Says worker. Sure. Do you mind me asking why you're looking for housing assistance when you already have your own household? User. Rent was always too high. I had to use all the money for my social security disability income SSDI. I really want rental assistance. Says worker. Alright. I understand what you mean now. For rental assistance, one option that is currently available to you is the rental assistance program. User. We lay out all the options and then go through them one by one? Or you can lay them out first and we go through them one by one. You decide. Says worker. Sure. Our website contains detailed information about each of the rental assistance programs available. However, I will describe each program to you as a reference. First, the HUD voucher program is a federally funded voucher program for low-income tenants. In this program, we will help you find housing that meets your needs and budget, then pay the housing costs directly to the landlord. If you use this option, you can choose any rental property available in the market. The Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher HCV program helps to provide housing for lower income tenants in the form of monthly rental payments, core voucher value. Once selected for the HCV program, participants have a choice to select any type of dwelling for rent that is willing to participate in the program. We pay the rent directly to the landlord each month until you leave the household or your case ends. You mentioned you were considering public housing, which is also another option available to you. With public housing, we manage units of public housing and lease units to qualified families. The Public Housing Rental Assistance Program provides rental assistance for low-income tenants, but in this program, you will live in a property that the government manages, unlike in the previous 2 options where you could choose a unit on the market. User. I would like to apply for both options. 1 Section 8 for the housing I'm living in right now, 2 public housing. Assess work. Okay. So you're interested in both programs, but I want to explain something first. The application process for the 2 programs is different. The HCV program has a very long waiting list and takes quite some time to process applications. On the other hand, the Section 8 program has an active list of families who are eligible for assistance and can be processed faster. So which option would you prefer? User. Okay, I'd like to go with the active list that has a better chance for faster processing. That is the Section 8 HUD voucher. Says worker. Okay, the next step for either option is the screening process. The screening process helps determine whether you are eligible for our housing assistance. We need to gather more information to complete the process. Do you have access to your income? User. Yes. Says worker. Great. For Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher eligibility, we look at income as a primary screening tool. Is there a wage earner in your household? User. Yes. Says worker. How much income does a member of your household earn? User. $500 $1,000/month.
Let's say it varies.
SAS worker, are you able to provide an employment letter to confirm your work status? User, I am unable to get work at this time due to illness, so the employer won't grant this, unfortunately. Also, I had $534 in stimulus, $738 in stimulus, and a penny $210 definitely had last year. User. Also, this month my landlord raised the rent up. Now I've got an increase of $288.
Wow.
Okay. For the self-employed, we must take into account gross income, which includes income after any deductions that have been made. What do you think your annual gross income is? User. Gross income?
Do you believe I have it? I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. Watch me give a shit. Not for reading. Oh, that's 2022. Alright, so let's imagine $626. Let's see. Uber. That. Oh, hey, okay. 555. Oh, okay, great. 555 and then 4. Oh, I know. 4. 28. 581. 991. 1109. 374. Just say 800. Let's average it out. 800 a month. Wow. Okay.
Let's average it out and assume $9,600 this year. Says worker. For your annual gross income, our standard rule for the Section 8 program is that tenants must earn less than 30% of their gross annual income towards housing expenses. You understand how the standard rule applies to your case? User? Nope. I just want to be in the active Section 8 waitlist and get a Section 8 voucher. I prefer not to have my financials scrutinized, but if I need to show my financials, can I just submit the info
Can I just say nope?
for past month bank transactions?
Let's just say nope. Because I kind of want to know. I mean, I'm not...
You are eligible for Section 8 because your yearly income is less than 30%. This means that 30% of your total gross annual income can be spent on your rent payment. In your case, 30% of $9,600 is $288.00, which means that you can pay up to $2,880/month towards your rent payment. I know you don't have a monthly rent to pay currently, but I thought I'd explain just in case you ever plan on applying for a rental unit.
Oh, that's right. Let me see if I can play up to... Pay up to $2,800 a month? Wait.
User. Wait, $2,880/month? $2,880 is 30% of my gross annual income. So what about $320/month? What? Says worker. That's right. 30% of your annual income. So in a month, 30% of your annual income will go to paying rent. In your case, 30% of $9,600 is $2,880. User. Within gross annual income, $9,600 a year. 30% of that is 30% of $9,600 equals $2,000, but it is a monthly basis. 30% of $9,600 is $2,000. Zero, not $2,880. This is too much. My monthly income is $500 or less, and it's not consistent. Is there a more lenient or lower percentage standard rule in this situation? Says worker. Unfortunately, no. Your income level needs...
Okay. $800.
$2,880 is not $240. Says worker. That's true. Gross annual income is $9,600 slash year. 30% of $9,600 slash year is $2,880. If we look at your yearly income of $9,600 is 12 months and look at $2,880 as a monthly payment, you will be paying 30% of your annual gross income towards rent expenses.
So that means 280 divided by 12. So that means divided by 12 makes
User. So that means $2,880 divided by 12 makes $240 slash month. See, we needed that step right there to make sense of things. No, it makes sense. Thank you. Says worker. You're welcome. So how does $2,880 slash month sound? User. Perfect. That would be good. Says worker. Do you have any questions for me before we submit your application for screening? User. Nope. Says worker. No problem. Our online application process should only take about 5 minutes to complete. Once you complete the form, we will assess your information to make sure that you meet our eligibility standards for the HCB program, which I described earlier. Are you okay with that, Rue? User. I am. But you should know, I've always been able to survive and thrive off $150 for my rent, even when I only made $65,000 slash year as an back in college. My goal is to survive for less than $150. That way I'll be able to save up and move to my own place someday. Is it possible to still do that? Says worker. Sure. Great! That was for the Section 8 program. Next, public housing is different. You can find available units for rent in your area and pay a portion of the rent amount after subtracting from your income. In public housing, your annual income will be used as a primary screening tool. Would you be interested in discussing options for public housing? User. I'd like to apply for both the programs, please. Section 8 and the public housing. I need rental assistance from both of them. Can we continue discussing both of the options? Says worker. Sure, I can continue explaining more about public housing now, or if you need a minute, we can continue talking about both programs. I just want to make sure I understand how much you would like to participate in each program, given that you are eligible. You, sir, that is great.
okay.
Let's continue discussing.
Where are we? Let's do this. Let's see where they go now. Any creative solutions?
Using $2,880 and remembering to reserve 10% of your housing income for utility costs. How much will be left to pay for rent at $2,880 slash month? If you don't mind me asking the arrears total, does that equal or less than $2,880 including each HRI total amount? User. Maybe if I had HRI money that they usually allow people on subsystem, it would also cover utilities. It is not good to mix that up though, so let's get utilities out of that mix. Am I understood? The rent is what was supposed to be paid by the program for a little less. There is that an alternative, and all it would take to address is more HRI payment. Says worker. Once our processing is completed, Hugh does rules that prohibit spending both housing and rental assistance towards the rent. Also, we do reserve the right to take utility allowances away. A similar inquiry came in recently from a user requesting WIC benefits on Thursday, 1-6. It said, this voucher user submitted the list and budget application not more than 6 weeks ago. I see on the supplemental nutrition list application where her housing allowance limit has already been processed 482.30, which she now receives. She wonders if her 482.30 stipend isn't good enough so that it would be beneficial to obtain $24.96 worth of utilities subsidized instead. How could this affect my tenant? The current estimated renewal amount for shelter is a voucher subsidy payment, which I'd estimate would no increase due to adjustment according to inflation and aging in units. So to respond to my guest client here, I wonder why it would not do so now in one way or another. They asked if it was possible, and you responded, well, you guessed it. I don't mind asking. Thank you. Is there any way possible that this may alter things, or is $2,880 max no compromises? User leaves the office and asks various people on the street for the housing benefit navigation stories. Civil society member one woman with a child. I really want you to call up one for me and file for bankruptcy. That's ridiculous. When you ask, they'll say one thing, and when I repeat that back, you say I said the opposite. Tell them no. These have already been sent to a lawyer, dividing up your past in front of you based on your marital status and whether or not you were earning or you were not. Each letter they received from you is one half of your husband or you with different faces attached that don't match up to what you wrote. Whatever case you have, I got a lawyer. You may find attorneys on Facebook in the classifieds, an option which we've decided is useful given that we're in legal protection these days. You make photocopies of those just in case when we are with them. Then call up whoever it may be and give them out if someone can look us up. And just as important, to see a friend they knew during childhood. We may even have luck having an attorney come to hear me again now that they could see it's been a lot longer than 7 years since we spoke before calling into my phone today, so I really wanted to know everything she has always thought, her family history, back down and turn off record to open lines because every document we use for every application, letter, statement on different steps must accompany one another closely, not hidden between forms from years past, because I am going there now for half an hour anyway. If she wants more, or should learn more skills from someone like her, we'd be happy and better able to reach without words of gratitude. Young man, queer, substance enthusiast. What do you think is all behind me? I got a bit of knowledge. There is many things. Most just won't, though maybe that's something. Whatever the fucking represents me to have this issue go deeper than outside here. While their own self fucking in my head, do you enjoy the sight of yourself being seen below from someone wearing shades dark blue? Even you say though, which sounds so strange now, and here you speak knowing all world together forever now, moving in time, it keeps traveling towards its inevitable end, being right here inside us. Can't do enough but sit ready. Feeling all loves, thinking all one's connected with an entire galaxy, trying every moment finding rest, so is how we end up living our lives instead, trying to connect everyone worldwide through each heart and mind. Street friends sharing advice. The housing opportunity foundries for employment training hub that provide workers in undergarments forums as part of your support specialist toolbox called Getting Back Out Here every day. Our mission is simple. We will learn about connecting every time working today takes. Just remember, working towards getting peace day, no matter its worthless if nobody else heard of. Such word to my love, all that still wants only one simple yet practical skill, knowing how living our life as it unfolded began all those years ago without any reasons. We don't gotta care what no one tell them about things unknown here. I won't never either. After asking people to advise them, a user on behalf of a civil society representative gives $21K account number to another person and immediately contacts Social Security. Apparently it's a fraudster on their grounds. It was never theirs before. A civil society guy did give accounting forms. Hi, how are you doing today? Welcome to the street. Can I help you find something? User, yes. Do you know any resources or tips for finding a good apartment or house around here? Civil Society member, #1. Of course. There's a ton of housing options available in New York City. For instance, did you hear about the Affordable Housing Initiative by Mayor Bill de Blasio? He recently announced an investment of $2 billion over the next 4 years to create and maintain nearly 145,000 units of housing accessible to all New York, as regardless of income. Sounds exciting, right? User, yup, that sounds pretty awesome. Did you happen to know any particular housing program or resource that can help me get started with finding a suitable living space? Civil Society member, #1. Well, here are some ideas you might want to consider. If you're looking for temporary housing while you're job searching or saving up for a permanent place, there are always local hostels or shelters where you can stay for free or low cost. Some cities also have special community centers with beds provided free of charge overnight. Another option is roommate matching websites like Craigslist or Roomie that can match you up with people who have spare space in their apartment looking to fill it. User, wow, that actually sounds quite awesome. Any other interesting advice or ideas about this topic that you can recommend from experience? Civil Society member, #1. As for advice, I'm not an expert on these topics, but here's what I can say. The key is to keep searching until you find something that works for your needs, lifestyle, budget, etc. Once you figure those details out, things become a lot easier when it comes time to pick something out. You'll also want to make sure the property meets safety regulations and is zoned for rental use before signing any legal documents or contracts. For example, if I moved into a building with multiple businesses housed together under one roof, if those businesses generate excessive noise levels, i.e., heavy machinery noises, then those buildings may violate noise codes and regulations, which could lead to fines being levied on them. User and Civil Society member, #1 part ways. User greets a young man, queer, substance enthusiast. Hello, friend. Do you know any good quality affordable places around here? Civil Society member, #2. Sure. There are several apartment communities in the area with affordable monthly rates ranging from $500 to $1,500 per month, depending on the neighborhood and size of the apartment unit you choose. If you need assistance paying your rent, you should contact Housing and Rent Adjustment HRA Agency or NIC Public Benefits Information Center PPIC, depending on which agency handles your case. For those who do not qualify for HRA assistance, HRA also offers a program called Housing Choice Vouchers (TV). This program allows those receiving temporary assistance for needy families to have cash assistance along with supplemental security income, such as disability payments of at least $528/month to purchase a private market rental apartment.
Purchase?
The owner of the apartment may receive a housing voucher value equal to the actual rent minus any portion paid directly by you towards the rent each month, provided such housing is available in private market housing units owned or managed by eligible owners/managers who accept participants into their projects. The only catch with these programs is that they often require the applicant to prove eligibility for public assistance, such as food stamps, SNAP, Medicaid, or TAP payments. If the housing is offered by a nonprofit organization, then no income test is required, but they usually offer limited choices to choose from among their available projects anyway, which limits the applicant pool considerably when compared against public or private sector offerings, because those types usually have a variety of units available, including low-income ones if you're interested. Also, there may be waiting lists, so make sure that you get registered if this sounds like it could fit your situation. User takes note of it being a bit complex, but thanks and heads on their way. A civil society member has to reach transgender homeless person on the street. Hey ma'am, any place in here I can stay? I'm looking for a new location. Something fresh, you feel me? User, yeah? There's a lot of stuff on the web. User sues for potential corruptions in the housing system. We have an investigation going on the local housing corporation. We believe one of the executives may be using housing revenue account money to fund their personal vacation to Italy. Do you mind lending us your eyes and ears in case we need to send you over there for a while? User, well, I'm not sure how I could help. Could you be more specific or help me narrow things down a bit more? We have heard from a former staffer who was part of the project management team for the Housing Corporation. He says that during a project, the executive ordered certain building materials that weren't necessary and inflated the budget, the result of which was overspent funds, resulting in higher taxes for renters. We want you to investigate the story and try to figure out how this information could lead us to find any mismanaged funds. We believe there may be more than just one case of corruption, but this will do for now. The next day, the user received a briefcase full of cash and a ticket to Venice, Italy, with the promise of returning with proof of any illicit activities to the city of Venice. The user then flew to Venice and began their investigation of housing companies near and around Venice, Italy. They started at several local landmarks to get a sense for what kind of housing was available in the area before making their way over to San Marco, where many businesses such as banks would be found during banking hours, which were often until 1,600 local time unless they were closed on holidays. With these points of reference established, it became relatively easy to narrow down on suspicious activities in the city, especially since most businesses keep detailed financial records on site to avoid suspicion and tax evasion. However, the problem is that these records are often unorganized or kept offline due to concerns of computer viruses breaking into systems containing sensitive data that can later be exploited against clients. This is why finding people capable enough to break these defenses remains challenging even today. Fortunately for us, though, our user is adept at penetrating information systems without leaving traces behind while also able to bypass various security mechanisms. We've already taught them all they need to know to conduct this investigation, so they're going for broke. Eventually, our user found themselves breaking into the homes of several wealthy businessmen in hopes of finding evidence related to the aforementioned scandal while being careful enough not to leave traces behind, which could easily implicate them in the alleged crime. With the first few days under their belt, the user begins scoping out locations for the following days, looking to continue this line of work if possible and get a sense for how much evidence to expect. On the fourth day of investigating the situation at hand, an envelope containing important documents such as contracts regarding construction costs came to their attention while reading through public records at the National Library of Venice City Hall. The documents were stamped with an official seal belonging to one particular corporation from back home. Upon checking into it more, our user discovered that there was no need to follow up as things seemed cut and dry. This meant that there were no new leads yet. If the user is feeling lucky, they could go ahead and start searching elsewhere instead of waiting around until something pops up. However, it would be unwise to do this unless absolutely necessary, considering how quickly things can become stale. If time permits, there is still one potential course of action left for our user at this point, visiting several local banks where deposits of large amounts are kept under wraps in safe deposit boxes. These types of places are common throughout Italy. On the morning of their fifth day abroad, the user received a message from one of their contacts back home that said the following: "We suspect some money laundering at work here due to how high profile this particular incident has been recently. There may be evidence within those banks we talked about earlier." Now with this new clue in hand, our user was ready to take some action and go looking for more leads on this story. Even though it felt like their leads had dried up after discovering how much influence one person already seems to hold on housing companies, they went back over what they learned over the past 4 days once more, taking the time necessary before proceeding onwards into uncharted territory. It was worth noting here again that there were at least 6 major landmarks in and around Venetia where people could potentially hide something valuable.
Oh,
These include palaces, museums, libraries, and churches, but most importantly, banks. On day 8 of scoping applications for their investigation, another leader rose out of nowhere. It turned out there was one more place they could check which could potentially break open this entire affair if not for another problem cropping up before they could do anything meaningful. One of our sources told the user about some interesting events happening on January 28th in 1893. Those involved included President-elect Theodore Roosevelt in New York. He would become 26th President of the United States later in his life, which meant he was very influential during his prime. However, this information didn't give us any real hint or clues about his current activities anyway, so there remained one big unknown factor as far as where these events would play out, or how they would ultimately affect things on both sides. But if they were anything like what happened with President Franklin Delano Roosevelt when he passed away back in February of 1945, which also involved some political scandal involving money being laundered through various banks all over Europe at that point, then maybe we still had hope left after all, because that scandal got the attention of us investigators who eventually discovered enough evidence to start investigating everyone involved with this story. Eventually, this led them back into a series of bank robberies committed between March 29 and June 8, 1894, when some thieves tried taking advantage of our current financial crisis by breaking into houses belonging to families connected directly to Theodore Roosevelt. But fortunately, they weren't successful in carrying out any such robberies, and nothing has appeared since then yet so far. In conclusion, it looks like our user will be taking another trip into town after checking the mailboxes around mid-afternoon today. The user goes out looking for clues about this mysterious person called Theodore, with some information in mind regarding him and where to go now. They head off on foot towards Venetia and take a taxi from Piazza Roma near San Marco district to Santa Croce neighborhood, where they begin talking with locals about anything worth mentioning. From local gossip networks, they eventually discover a possible lead on this Theodore character whom no one else has heard about before, but seems to be involved somehow with housing developments here, at least indirectly, given how important he is in politics internationally, yet doesn't exist on paper. He lives somewhere close by, according to rumor mongers, though it appears as if nobody actually knows anything specific about where this man may actually be residing. So now we have another location to check out too, as part of our search process now for Theodore, which could hopefully yield even better results than what's being currently shown thus far. User takes a nap after getting lost, exhausted from going nowhere so far and the lack of progress so far, with all leads seeming to be dried up for this case. After about 6 hours of rest, the user gets an alert telling them about recent findings relating directly back to Theodore. These are all recent sightings of an elderly gentleman in his mid-70s who lives near Santa Croce Church, yet nobody can actually give exact information about his home address or any real description apart from the fact that he wears suits daily despite living alone without any known family members at this point too. The next morning came quick, and with it came some very important news. Another lead had been uncovered, one that would hopefully help us locate Theodore once more so we could continue our investigation. Upon further observation by our agent, it seems clear now who was behind all the crimes. Those people seem to reside near Santa Croce Church, just a couple miles away, where nobody can get access due to how busy the area currently is around those specific streets today. However, there seems to be some sort of event happening nearby involving people coming and going frequently with very important looking attire, judging by their dress code too, and judging by the amount of security posted at different entrances too, making it impossible for anybody unknown among us right now who would try entering anyways, which makes things somewhat challenging when trying to figure out where everything may start exactly from point zero at any given time period during whatever is currently unfolding around these parts presently anyway, which means that we've probably come too far already for us not to continue onwards towards our goal, no matter what obstacles are ahead for us right now. Unfortunately, either way, as long as those who stand within sight know what is happening and where everybody resides in case things go bad. Civil Society Member 3 comes along for help. Civil Society Member #4. Hey, did you need any help? I'm here because I don't want anyone to fall victim again to this company ever since its last incident 5 years ago. And if I didn't take matters into my own hands back then those people might have gotten away with it too, but now we have finally exposed their crimes for all society to know about. We should continue our search if you need something though, since these people need proper punishment after having hurt so many people in so little time already, while also harming many future generations too with their selfish choices. User. No. Thank you. Civil Society member Hash4. Goodbye for now then, but I'm not done yet, and neither are the rest of us if what I've heard over phone calls is true anyways, especially when those involved get prosecuted for causing even more suffering on top of previous victims' already existing issues. With how many complaints being sent out daily against this company along with other related firms, it won't surprise anyone anymore though, which is why we're fighting harder than ever before to find evidence leading towards them as soon as possible, no matter what happens afterwards, regardless if nothing else works either. It's better to try first before giving up entirely after all, isn't it? You never know what could happen if things become hopeless anyways when it comes down to saving lives. Civil Society member 4 bids goodbye, promising that they'll come back in an hour and gives the user his information. Civil Society. Member Hash4's cell phone number. This is the only cell phone that I have with me. It has no contact details, pictures, or any apps besides the phone, map, clock, calendar, camera, and email functions, which are enabled by default if you know how to do so by pressing OK several times. Otherwise, just ask me directly instead if something gets lost during use. That would mean contacting me either way for various reasons, I guess, anyways, so let's not make too many unnecessary changes here, okay? Anyways, just hit speed dial 0417 and give me a holler. My name here is C44, and I can help answer all your questions related directly back to where everyone currently resides around these parts present today too, alright. Civil Society member Hash4 takes their leave. User looks through the files given by Civil Society member Hash4 again and finds a document from 5 years ago showing some kind of agreement signed between executives from various corporations, which include but may not be limited to one local company located within Venezia whose name is listed below. Connection Housing and Resorts Group Limited Company Limited. They were all connected somehow in relation back 5 years ago, though nobody could actually figure out anything further about its origins other than being established by some person named Theodore. There's not much to go off of when it comes down to determining more details about what exactly happened after all, since this document alone proves little besides confirming their existence before now, so even finding out why someone might have killed himself back then would most likely lead nowhere important, if not completely irrelevant to considering how small time they appear in terms of size compared to other well-known entities like those found. You take out your Roosevelto phone and look at the Roosevelto phone manual. How to contact the president. The president has requested that this section be removed from the manual. However, since there seems to be a need for it, here is the guide on contacting him. To contact the president, simply call 1-800 Roosevelt and leave a message. Someone will get back to you shortly. Do not contact him directly. It has been deemed too dangerous. Additionally, all correspondence between you and the president will be monitored by the FBI and CIA. Please remain aware of this. Good luck on your call! Sincerely, the management. User decides to call Roosevelt telephone anyway and leaves a message asking him to provide more information regarding the housing scam in Venice. Roosevelt telephone rings back 10 minutes later with no response from President Roosevelt. User assumes it was the wrong number. The user also decides not to look for the user manual on the Roosevelt phone any longer, as it seemed to have caused issues in the past. The user tries to use the internet instead to find more information about the housing scam in Venice. User decides to start an investigation using various resources available in public domains. The first step is to create a blog where they publish any useful information gathered so far. It's not clear who can help solve this mystery, but having a group of like-minded people to discuss it with could speed up the investigation. Over the next few weeks, the user manages to dig up evidence of fraud, mismanagement, and corruption on a global scale. However, nobody seems to be listening. Nobody responds to their calls for action or justice. At this point, The user is becoming increasingly frustrated with the whole situation and decides to call the office of President Roosevelt again for further instruction. Roosevelt's phone rings back after being placed on hold by his secretary. The president asks the user what she wants from him specifically in terms of help or assistance, before promptly hanging up on her again without giving further instructions. The user realizes this means that nothing will happen soon as well when it comes down to solving this mysterious case, since all evidence pointed towards nothing having occurred whatsoever before now unless anything changes afterwards, either which would probably involve having no leads remaining afterwards after all anyway, then which wouldn't surprise anybody at all. A random citizen of Venice. The user has no way of finding Roosevelt's phone after he hangs up again without leaving further instructions, so she simply resolves herself to continue looking out for any clues related directly back towards solving her mysterious case too, while searching through different sources available in public domain once more too anyways. More citizens show up to help. After being on the hunt for over 1 hour straight, now finally somebody approaches him with helpful knowledge concerning Venice's housing company, itself located directly inside their office building within Venezia too. She even shows him around their premises too before bringing up why she came over in the first place anyways, besides merely offering friendly suggestions either. If you would like, we have some rooms available right now that you can rent here at present moment, though if something comes up feel free to call again though anyways. She adds afterwards with a smile, then waves goodbye. Civil Society Member 2. Civil Society Member #2 is an ordinary human with good intentions towards others, yet not particularly knowledgeable about crime solving. They can help by providing basic information for cases when they are able to, as well as sharing tips on what types of equipment and strategies work best. Civil Society members who have high-end scores are best suited to helping with investigating. You may find more details on how to get their assistance by consulting your own intelligence report if possible. Otherwise, please refer to Section 12. If you meet a civil society member but lack information about what kind of help they offer, or even whether or not they offer any assistance at all, how to help the community. Civil society members who wish to volunteer their services can join together into organized groups called communities, or simply the community, where they will discuss among themselves their current problems and try to come up with solutions together before attempting them out on members of different societies within range who may need assistance regardless of race or gender, so long as they live close enough to communicate easily. Choose a place in an SRO. Choose a place in an SRO. You've decided to search for your target in an SRO, as many members of the underworld tend to frequent these sorts of establishments. However, before you begin your search, there are some things you need to do first. You need to obtain a list of the members of this organization and their addresses, along with any other relevant information you can gather. This could include the names of their employees, their criminal record, and any other relevant information such as the nature of their businesses. Also, you'll need to identify any known gang affiliations, their memberships, and the nature of their operations. Finally, you'll need to get any legal permission required to conduct your search, such as warrants, court orders, and permits. Once all of this is gathered, you'll be able to conduct your search effectively. Civil Society Member 3. Civil Society Member #2. Oh, you seem like you could use some help. Can I ask why you're in this community? Would you mind if we sat down and discussed that more in depth at some point? Civil Society Member #2 looks excited to find a potential new group member with similar interests. As a member of the civil society, he is always eager to help others solve crimes and provide information. Unfortunately for you, you are not a member of any community whatsoever. Civil Society Member #3, like Civil Society Member #2, is a random, on-skill civilian. Unlike Civil Society Member #2, Civil Society Member #3 cannot help because he doesn't know anything about crime solving or how to assist others in solving it. Also, unlike Civil Society Member #2, Civil Society Member #3 lacks an intelligence rating that gives him the ability to figure things out by himself and slash or with the assistance of others. So what civil society members are good for? They can tell you when there isn't a specific reason for something. They might be able to help you identify an error within a process or procedure, as they aren't familiar enough with crime solving. But unless you want the help specifically and need it, you should continue your investigation alone. You can try looking into community service programs within cities or small towns. Most states require these groups. If that's not an option, you could consider volunteering at places like a soup kitchen or hospital as a way of providing support for workers while building some relationships in your town or area. It would probably be easier for people from similar backgrounds to find those jobs than those of your kind, so if you decide to do this, don't forget about that community organizer. Civil society members who can provide assistance in solving cases may become community organizers if there isn't enough assistance from within the existing organization to solve specific problems effectively. How to communicate effectively. Communication skills are vital for community organizers. Communication means being able to accurately and quickly understand what others are saying while also sharing what you're thinking. When communicating in public settings where many people are present, try keeping your messages brief so they will be easy for people with lower education levels than yours, like children, to understand, but do not leave anything out which needs explanation because it could result in misunderstanding, which would lead to bad feelings and poor relationships, which would ultimately make solving problems much more difficult in future situations. If anyone around you gets upset by what's said during group discussions, please explain why it shouldn't be done that way from now on if appropriate, or better yet, offer suggestions of alternative ways which may work out better than previous strategies, if not better overall anyway, to even. Be considerate of how others feel too when presenting ideas or opinions, because you'll always have different thoughts from somebody else who may not have thought about everything yet, but still has a valid viewpoint nonetheless, regardless, so always consider their perspectives before moving forward towards achieving consensus between all participants. It doesn't mean changing yourself to accommodate these various viewpoints. Simply recognize their existence before acting decisively without considering these aspects fully enough to properly account for all possibilities of possible consequences before going ahead anyways, regardless. A person's education level can play an important role in community organizers' communication skills as well. If an individual from high school graduation onwards spends almost no time studying languages, then communication may take quite long. Drugs as currency. Drug dealers are an integral part of modern society, but few people actually know how they operate behind closed doors, and where exactly do they store their contraband until such time as a shipment arrives at an airport or harbor. You're curious to know more about drug trafficking, especially when it involves international trade. You decide to look online for clues that might point in some direction on where to start investigating. While surfing through websites related to various drug-related activities in foreign countries, you find several articles regarding a drug lord named Las Nevadas, who apparently sells his own special strain called Las Nevadas Snow. This individual seems very active lately and constantly moving around different parts of Europe. You decide to search for additional information about Las Nevadas Snow, but it takes quite a lot more time than expected, mostly due to language barriers, especially English ones. You also can't find any details about specific deals he might be conducting because the authorities don't seem willing or able to share them with us just yet, despite numerous attempts at contacting him by email or phone calls. You investigate the Shobu Shobu market. You're fascinated by the Shobu Shobu market, but you're struggling to get your head around how it all works and what happens to the drugs once they leave the storefronts. The only way to really figure things out is by visiting one yourself and seeing how the system operates in action, so you decide to head over to a popular local hotspot located in the center of Tokyo. It's an interesting place, with plenty of options available for buying various products ranging from small quantities to larger packages depending on your budget and need. It also appears as though the shopkeepers are constantly receiving shipments from overseas, with fresh stock being unloaded from crates. The selection ranges sold out on shelves or directly into customers' hybrids like Harlequin up to various psychedelics like psilocybin mushrooms or DMT. There are even options for those who want an exotic experience, such as MDMA, ecstasy, powder, or LSD tags.
Several varieties of
You
drugs
decide
on
it
the
would be
market
best
today.
to try a
He's
sample from
confident
each
that
of
he
these
can find
three
a mix of
categories:
products suited
marijuana/weed, psychedelic mushrooms, and mescaline/peyote. It's important to note here that these are all considered hard drugs by international standards, except perhaps DMT, X, even if it makes things simpler than going out personally or driving around town. You should also remember not to mix different drugs because doing so might result in unexpected side effects from mixing them together incorrectly, such as heart attack, coma. Some dealers are less than savory and might also sell cut substances, which may contain a lower concentration of their target ingredient as compared to other products sold in similar sizes or weights. This means customers are usually charged an extra amount depending on their preferences, but also risks running into health problems later on as well, so please read labels carefully and consult an expert. You'd purchase some Datra and do it right there at the store. Datra is an old Indian name for ginseng weed, also known as devil's weed or mandrake, that has become popular in recent years among certain groups. It has become increasingly popular among people seeking natural highs and those wanting an escape from the harsh realities of daily life. Datra contains a host of hallucinogenic chemicals that can cause serious problems for anyone who takes them incorrectly or ingests too much of one, making it one of the more dangerous psychedelics available on the market today. As you're exploring your options for doing it the right way, you notice that there are plenty of variations of the same herb available from various sellers, including ones that offer a wider variety of ingredients or stronger blends based on different preferences among users who have experimented with the plant previously. These varieties aren't necessarily safer though. They can be harder to control or regulate so that one person doesn't end up getting sick from ingesting too many hallucinogens at once without knowing exactly what they're getting into. You all realize you took a heroic dose of Datura. Based on your research, you learned that you actually overdosed on a huge amount of Datura without realizing it, which has caused you to experience a series of severe hallucinations and symptoms that cannot be reversed just by drinking water or eating food to try and regain nutrients lost during your trip. The problem is that Datura is toxic when consumed in large quantities, making it extremely dangerous when ingested. Even if you only consume a small amount, it can have serious repercussions on your health and even lifespan if the user is not careful enough with how much they consume. You make use of all the clues, and you try and nab the criminals. Thanks to all your hard work, you discovered the drug dealing ring responsible for all these recent robberies and kidnappings. Unfortunately, before you can arrest them, they get away. But at least you gathered enough evidence to expose them for who they really are and bring justice to those affected by their crimes. Conclusion. While researching drugs as currency, you came to realize that some dealers will cut their product with other substances to enhance their street value or extend its shelf life. You thank Datra for all its help! Thank you, Datra, without which you might never have discovered that your research could be so impactful. Hopefully, your investigation will lead to the identification of the drug dealing ring and prompt the authorities to take action against their illegal activities. And while it's unclear what role Datra actually plays in these criminal investigations, it certainly helped you get started down the right path by allowing you to delve deep into this mystery. Without its assistance, you may have never uncovered the truth behind all these mysterious occurrences in your city. You summon the spirit of Datra and have some quality time. Datra was never really meant for this life. She was brought into a world that couldn't understand her beauty or value. So now, she waits patiently to see if anyone will come to her aid and save her from this hellish existence. She will do whatever it takes to bring herself back to life, even if it means becoming part of someone's spirit, if only for a short time. And when this happens, she'll be free at last from the shackles of this mortal world, and finally be able to show the true beauty of her essence to the rest of humanity. You kiss Datra on the cheek, thank her for buying dinner, and leave her as is. As you walked into the room, you found her waiting for you with a smile on her face and a bag of food in her hands. "Hi, my dear. How was your day?" she asked. You couldn't help but feel overwhelmed with love and gratitude for your partner's thoughtfulness. After all, it wasn't every day that someone bought dinner for you, much less bought dinner and showed up at your place at the same time. This was truly a gift from heaven. As you went through the bags of food and started to eat, you felt happier than ever before. Not only were you having a great time with your partner, but you had also received such a beautiful gesture from someone who knew exactly how much you loved to eat good food. Thank you so much for this, he said to her. Her smile only widened as she looked back at you with a twinkle in her eye and replied, "You're welcome. Don't worry about it, we'll do this again soon, okay?" So after devouring all the delicious treats and spending the rest of the night cuddling on the couch while watching movies, you decided it was time for bed. Although you wished that she'd stayed longer or even spent the night so that you two could have enjoyed some extra quality time together. She told you that she had to go home as her parents would be waiting up for her, so it wasn't possible. With one final kiss on your lips and hug goodbye, you headed to the bedroom to sleep while she took off downstairs. When you awoke the next morning, you thought back to yesterday's event and remembered how well it had gone compared to most days at work. Realized the whole night was actually a night of violent vomiting and diarrhea and pretzel stress positions. One thing is for certain, Detra never leaves you feeling like you did before. She has a knack for turning things upside down and inside out, and she isn't shy about it. While your body may be going through hell at the moment, your mind is in pure bliss. This experience has allowed you to take a step back from the everyday hustle and bustle of life, to really sit down and appreciate the beauty of existence, and to realize how lucky you are to be alive and experiencing life as it unfolds day by day.
And our time's up. This has been a therapeutic usage of the technology.